Well, hey folks, it's your old pal King Waspinator. Welcome back to Total Party Skills. Hit like and subscribe. Don't worry, it's not a short form video. Now, we got another kerfuffle of sorts over the concept of whether or not there should be racial modifiers in Dungeons and Dragons and associated games. As I've stated in previous videos, this is not exactly a new debate. I clearly remember when I was a youth in the early 90s hearing people make these sorts of accusations about D&D and how it's promoting biological essentialism, which they're not doing. It's not like Skyrim, where they actually, have different racial modifiers based on different specific human ethnicities. Because of the fact they're using race in a very old-fashioned kind of fantasy way, it's really more of a stand-in for the word species. However, if you're looking for some sort of vaguely medieval kind of vibe to whatever the setting you're doing, a word like species seems a little out of place. So they use race. But unfortunately, because of all the huge amount of real-world cultural baggage that comes with that word, a lot of casuals who first dip their toe into the fantasy genre, will react to it as if it means something different than what it means within that genre. The reason why you have racial modifiers for elves and dwarves and halflings and such, on those occasions when those have even been present, some of the early versions of D&D didn't have any ability score modifiers at all. But the rationale for their inclusion, including not just a racial bonus, but a racial negative to one ability score or another, is there because the entire basis of how you play a tabletop role-playing game is entirely built upon the choices that players make in this virtual mental environment you're creating. Everything is based upon giving them some sort of choice. Even basic combat is really about making little decisions and then having to deal with the repercussions and consequences of those decisions. From the very get-go, when you're making a character, you are starting to play the game, and the choices you are making should have some sort of effect down the line upon your gameplay. Otherwise, it's entirely just a cosmetic thing and doesn't even really need to be mentioned. But, if you're choosing to play a dwarf means that your character is going to have a easier time dealing with some NPCs and a slightly harder time dealing with other NPCs. They're going to have to deal with the consequences of not being as tall as an elf. They're going to, receive the benefits of, the dwarven swarthiness and stoutness and all that kind of stuff. The whole point originally is that, before they started to warp how ability modifiers work, is that humans would just get a flat roll of their ability score dice, and they were just kind of like the neutral position. But, after they got rid of the negative racial modifiers, they had to start doing things to make, playing humans attractive, so then you get into this subtle thing of this odd human superiority that goes on in D&D, since they get a +1 to everything and extra skills and all that kind of stuff. The idea that, certain D&D races wouldn't automatically be loaded up with certain culturally relevant skills to them. Yeah, if you really want to play an elf that never learned how to pick up a sword, fine. But, the idea that, because of elven culture, they all are proficient in long swords. How is that a bad thing to make sure that, if you're playing an elf, no matter what class you do, you always can still at least, engage in sword play, even if you're in a class that otherwise wouldn't be trained for that. That's hardly like that's a punishment for anybody, and I don't really know how that's supposed to be viewed as some sort of negative reflection upon elf society, but yet here we are. But like this new thing of just you get ability score bonuses, but you can put them wherever you want. Why even have that? If they can go anywhere, they're kind of meaningless. So we shouldn't. I guess I'll just go back to like the basic D&D style of things of just everyone rolls 3d6 for everything, and you might have a little difference in scaling based on your size, if you're a small or medium and stuff like that, in terms of like how much encumbrance you can carry and such. But hell, why even have ability scores? That's not fair, and I guess that'll have to be the next thing. You completely scrub down all the things that make the choice you're making of what race you want to choose in this completely meaningless, then I guess the next thing on the fight to make sure everything's fair for everyone is to, I guess, just give everyone flat, identical ability scores. Not even giving people like, oh, here's some numbers to plug in. Everyone should have the exact same ability scores. Why should Johnny be stronger than Sarah? Why should Bill have a higher intelligence than Bob? All that kind of thing. Everyone should just be the same. Which further removes choices. It kind of like the trend line of all that is just it's just gonna the video gamification of D&D. You know, everyone gets the exact same avatar with the exact same skill load with the exact same potential for success. In fact, you know, Billy might be a little upset if he doesn't roll well on his skill checks. So maybe we should just get rid of all skill checks and saves. Have everything you do be successful. Give everyone ability scores of 18. Hell, let's just put the ability score modifiers back in. Not only are all 6 of your ability scores going to start at 18, but then you get to add +2 to 6 ability scores of choice. Like, you know, it's not really a game anymore. It's why not just join a fucking improv theater troupe, you know, if you don't want to have to account for any of these things. The point of it being a game is that it has parameters, and you have to learn how to operate within those parameters to achieve the set goals of the scenario. I mean, if you just like remove all parameters, then you're just, I don't know, it's like Amber. I mean, you're just sitting there just describing what you want to do, and no pushback on any of that. You could just sit around and just write a novel together, I guess, and just everyone kind of have a character that they're somewhat in control of that character's plot and reactions. But the thing that's supposed to make it fair is that the dice roll is supposed to, it's a way to moderate the dungeon master in a way and keep them honest and fair, not playing favorites, because the dice are the things that are determining the success or failure, not whether or not you like Steve more than Jill. I mean, like, I guess, you know, why even have classes? Why have skills? Why have anything? Why even have a role-playing game? Oh, because they want to make money. You know, we're facing a wall coming up here with this one D&D thing. Are we, you know, regardless of, you know, how you might feel about whatever, this expectation that we're all going to jump on board a virtual tabletop environment and have to make a bunch of microtransactions in order to be able to compete properly with others, like that's way worse, because that's putting the fairness of the game based on like your real world ability to afford to buy resources as microtransactions. It's going to be based on your ability to afford to get your character the magic item model for, you know, for the little virtual mini. It's going to be up to you to be able to afford to buy them the armor you want and all that kind of stuff. You know, the dice roll stuff might not seem fair on the surface, but no matter who you are as a person in real life, you still have to be subject to that, you know, random factor when you want to sit down and play these things, no matter how rich or poor you might be. And I don't know, that strikes me as slightly in like an actual more true, honest form of fairness than making sure halflings and ogres can stand toe-to-toe to each other on equal footing on everything. I don't know, maybe. Once again, I feel that a lot of the people who feel this way about Dungeons & Dragons in particular should probably find a different role-playing game to play, because obviously this is not something they actually like, but because there's this sensation of popularity around it right now, you know, people want to be doing the popular thing, because they want to engage and feel a part of popularity. They want to feel like they're cool and they're part of the zeitgeist. But I know you wouldn't ask for this many changes on something that you like. If you like a hamburger, you wouldn't ask them to replace it with chicken and take the cheese off, because then that's not a fucking hamburger anymore. Now is it? yeah, this race essentialism thing would only apply if D&D was actually, making it so if you're playing a black character, you have different racial modifiers than a white character if they're both human. The idea that immortal elves are going to be a bit different and capability than a standard human, or that dwarves or that halflings or dragonborn or tieflings or all the above, like really like shouldn't be bothering people as much as it is. They are not races in that fashion. But once again, they probably, from going back to the very beginning, should have been referred to as species. Say if you're going to make up a role-playing game where you're playing animals, not animal people, but you're like playing animals in a forest, and everyone rolls up a little animal character, and you're going to have just little critter adventures in the woods. Is the bear character going to have the same stat range as the raccoon character? Really? Everything's the same when it comes to like physical mass, dexterity, problem-solving abilities? No. No, they're not. End of story. End of video. Stay waspinated.